ATP Cincinnati semi-finals day. We're going to preview it. We've got two very probably predictable semi-finals in the sense that, well, I say predictable. One predictable semi-final and one semi-final that probably was a little bit surprising, and one player who a lot of people wouldn't have picked at all to be in the semi-finals. So whoever picked him in your bracket, well done to you, because that was an inspired and genius pick. Before we get into it, remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, remember to leave a rating or review, especially on Apple Podcasts. All your support is greatly appreciated. Also, consider joining the channel, and it does help us out a great deal. Thank you. Right. We're going to get into this. And first of all, I'm going to talk about it from a head-to-head point of view. So what the head-to-head is between both players. Then I'm going to talk about their route to the semi-finals, and then break it down tactically and strategically, and then give you my predictions. We're going to go one by one with each semi-final. So let's start off with the big one, which everyone's going to be talking about. Medvedev versus Tsitsipas. I mean, everyone references back to that moment where, you know, they had a little bit of a bust-up, let's say, in America actually as well. Now, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about tennis because that seems to be water under the bridge anyway. First of all, let's talk about the head-to-head. So, Tsitsipas has struggled, especially against Medvedev on hard courts. He's slightly older, Medvedev as well, but of course they came up together. And another player who we're going to mention in a second, Coric, was seen as being part of that group of next-gen players coming through. These two have gone on to actually accomplish what a lot of people thought they would so far anyway. Still 24 and 26 respectively. So one Grand Slam win for Medvedev, one Grand Slam final for Tsitsipas, one ATP Tour Finals, Masters tournaments, same with Medvedev as well. So a lot of people think they're going to win multiple Grand Slams. Could be the case. We shall see. The head-to-head is 7-2 in favor of Medvedev. Now, the most recent performance, or most recent meeting, was at the Australian Open 2022. Now, that was an intriguing match because Tsitsipas actually played a lot better than people would have thought. He put up a better fight, four-setter, and Medvedev won 7-6, 4-6, 6-4, 6-1. So it's a tight one. Apart from obviously the four-set breadstick, all three sets, all first three sets even, were very, very close. Tsitsipas won a Roland Garros the year before in 2021, and Medvedev beat him in the Australian Open as well, again in the semi-finals in 2021. The only other win that Tsitsipas has is at the Nitto ATP Finals in 2019, where he won 7-6, 6-4. Apart from that, it's been absolute carnage, honestly, on the clay. It really has. And ironically, he's actually beaten Tsitsipas on the clay once before in 2019, which a lot of people might be surprised by. But everything else has been on hard courts. They haven't played on grass yet. Let's discuss then their routes to the semi-finals, and then what everyone is looking forward to is discussing it tactically. So first of all, let's break it down for Tsitsipas. So Tsitsipas had Krajinovic in the first round. And before we actually get into that, I have to say I'm very impressed with how he's bounced back from that loss to Jack Draper in Montreal in straight sets as well. The way he's bounced back this week has been quite impressive, and it might not be surprising because it seems everyone from last week in Montreal who did well went out early in Cincinnati, and everyone who maybe was underwhelming but were highly seeded last week has done better this week for the most part, right? There's two factors that I think contribute to that. The first one being that it's so hard to consistently play at a certain level over 2 weeks. I've said it in a previous video. That's why it's so impressive to win a Grand Slam, because it's over 2 weeks and you need to maintain some sort of level, some sort of exceptional level, really, over 2 weeks. The other factor, I guess, is that it's just without Djokovic there, without Nadal there, of course, who lost in his first match to Coric it's just a lot more open, and these guys are hungry, and anyone can really beat anyone. Honestly, that's just how I see it. Anyway, let's get into the roots. Krajinovic, straight set victory for Tsitsipas there. Impressive. Same over Schwartzman. I mean, impressive, but these are expected victories. And then John Isner. So he's had a pretty good run, I have to say, to semi-finals. The John Isner one is a good win just because Isner serving really well, though. Looked like he was fading towards the end and did lose the third set 6-3, but I mean, well played to Isner to take the second set 7-5, honestly, because a lot of people would have backed Tsitsipas to win that in straight sets. And then we look at Medvedev's. Van der Schulp, in straight sets. Played him before. He's a solid player. Shapovalov, who has rekindled a little bit of form, which is good to see, but beat him in straights. Then Taylor Fritz. Now, that was a great win, I thought, because Taylor Fritz beat Medvedev's conqueror last week, Nick Kyrgios, in emphatic fashion. I know Nick was, again, waning quite a bit in terms of his physicality or physical status anyway. Did say that he just needed a bit of a break, and he will have a break going into the US Open, of course. He does sometimes play Winston-Salem, I think, in the past, but he won't be playing it this year. A lot of people thought he might even take a break for Cincinnati, but didn't in the end. So Medvedev won 7-6, 6-3. Good victory for the Russian player. Then we need to talk about it from a from a technical standpoint. Let's talk about it from a technical standpoint. from the the BS Russian and the man, you better shut your F up, okay? To two players now who are at the top of their game or close to the top of their game. And it is a rivalry. Medvedev has mentioned it before. There's clearly some sorts of mental warfare going on, as always, with these two. Medvedev, though, is the world number one. He hasn't produced the best tennis that we know he can produce this week. I'm wondering whether rekindling this rivalry with Tsitsipas will get his juices flowing, and it will be what he really needs to fuel the fire and get him to produce some of the tennis we saw him put forward to win the US Open last year. It's definitely his favorite part of the year, his favorite swing this period of the calendar. The big question is, can he get past Tsitsipas and I guess continue his dominance on the hard courts and the dominance in the head-to-head? Will the Greek player actually manage to get his first win over Medvedev on outdoor hard? Indoor hard, he's won one, but not on outdoor hard. I'm not sure. We're going to break it down tactically. So the first thing is the serve return dynamics. Let's talk about that. Medvedev has been serving pretty well this week. I mean, I don't think he's played that well, honestly, but in terms of serving, it hasn't dipped too much, if at all. Tsitsipas is going to have to be really solid on return. Now, the one thing I will say is that playing a lot of grass court tennis, which seems a little bit off topic, but playing a lot of grass court tennis probably would have helped him in the sense that he would have had to have shortened his backhand return swing, his forehand return swing, and got more used to hitting block returns deep into court and then defensively trying to get back to neutral in those return points. And he would have got better and better at doing that. Against these massive servers on these quicker hard courts, he needs to do something similar. He needs to be blocking a lot. Now, it'll be easier for him because, of course, the courts are a lot higher in bounce. Like they bounce higher. That's just the way they are. That's the way they play. That does mean that Tsitsipas, especially on the backhand side, will be more comfortable taking. He likes taking it shoulder high. He doesn't want to take it on his ankles. So he should be making more returns than we're used to seeing against Medvedev in past matches. We should be seeing him make a higher proportion or percentage of returns, I would say personally. That's my thoughts on it. Especially after playing John Isner, who's a huge server, of course, slightly different server, but that would have been a pretty good warm-up for what he will be facing against Medvedev. That's in terms of serve return dynamics or the first half of the serve return dynamics. The second one will be Tsitsipas's serve and how well does Medvedev return. Now, Tsitsipas is going to have to be very, very clever. And everyone talks about how deep Medvedev's return position is. And of course, that is a factor. And it always will be unless he is willing to adjust it. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing. He's probably one of the best returners on tour, and he's made it work for him. Tsitsipas, however, is not as good a server as Medvedev, I have to say, but he's not too far off. He's not. And what we have to also talk about is his 1-2 combination, his serve 1+ combo is one of the best on tour. Top 3 for sure. Serve forehand, I mean, we're talking about it being up here. It is exemplary, it really is. So for me, if he's able to make a lot of first serves and then dictate with the forehand, make a lot of forehands, he's going to be in a good position. And we did see him have quite a few dominant service games at the Australian Open earlier this year. And this surface, I feel like it does play more similarly to that surface than, say, the US Open, which will be coming up, which is slightly slower. He's going to need to make a lot of first serves. Now, we'll see what he's able to. And also, he's going to have to do what a lot of players try to do against Medvedev, and they have varying success, but it's more about the execution than the actual tactic and game plan. And that is serving out wide, dragging Medvedev out, and then also mixing it up with a serve volley. He needs to try to be able to utilize the kick serve out wide on both the juice and the ad side, and also the slice serve on the juice side, especially. If you can find a shorter slice serve out wide, drag Medvedev out, he will win 3 points there because the return will be shorter. Medvedev might not even be able to get to if he's hit it well enough. It might be an ace, it might be unreturnable. Also needs to be looking to come forward to Tsitsipas because from the back of the court, he's not going to have the success he is looking for. Medvedev, despite not playing his best tennis this week, he still is a wall. He is. He's known as the octopus, and he barely misses for the most part. He will grind you down from the back of the court, and Tsitsipas is someone who is prone to the odd miscue or the odd shank. Does he really want to be sitting from the back of the court and trading? No. If he's going to be sitting from the back of the court and trading, he wants to be the one in control. He needs to be the one who's being proactive from the back of the court, stepping in and being aggressive. We're looking at Medvedev's last performance, 32 wins to 99 forced errors. So that's really, really impressive return. He's definitely been playing slightly more aggressively or trying to from what I've seen. I think that's because the courts are they're quicker than maybe the US Open will be coming up. It means he doesn't have to hit through the ball as much. He can deflect the ball sometimes, use good angles, set up shots to hit into the open court by dragging opponents left to right. And Tsitsipas doesn't want to be caught into that rhythm. He wants to be the one dictating. Now, the big issue is going to be if Medvedev goes flat backhand to backhand. That's never a good dynamic for Tsitsipas to get caught up in. If he gets caught up in that dynamic, it's going to be extremely tough for Tsitsipas on the backhand side. The only silver lining from it is that because it is a hard court, it's not going to stay as low, but still he will be taking the ball on, ankle height. Now, he can go with two options. He can try and slice, but we saw on the grass court swing, it's not a particularly good slice. Probably not the best option. Or he needs to just suck it up and try and hit the dry backhand as well as possible. Maybe try and hit a better angle shorter. If he's going to be short, try and hit the angled one. Drag him out and see if you can get him out of position and uncomfortable. The forehand to forehand exchanges, he should be having some success at Tsitsipas and needs to be trying to dictate with it. He needs to be the one being proactive, changing direction first. He also needs to be looking to come forward when he can. Now, in Australia, he had some success with it. Coming forward, I think he can sometimes be a bit conservative with the approaches, and I think he can't afford to do that against Medvedev. He can do two things, by the way, in the approach, for me anyway. First thing is he can either go deeper into the corners, which I think he needs to do and commit to going forward. I feel like sometimes it's a little bit cautious and I just want to make the approach come to the net. I know I've hit it into the backhand side. I don't need to hit it too deep or too hard. Just get it to the backhand side and then that should be enough. I can finish the volley, and then he'll get past. Medvedev is one of the best passers in the game. Tsitsipas needs to be pinpoint with the approaches. Doesn't need to hit a winner, but he needs to be proactive. He shouldn't. I feel like sometimes he hits the approach at like 50%. It needs to be hit at more like 70%, 75%. Come to the net and close down the forecourt. So you can either do that, and that's one option, of course, to go top spin into the corners, come to the forecourt, close it up. Second option is he slices. So he goes forehand slice or backhand slice. We've seen Murray do it quite a lot. There's other players that do it, of course, as well. And it's an option that he can use. The issue that he has, though, is his backhand slice is not particularly good. So his forehand slice is a bit better, especially defensively. It's pretty good. I'm not sure what it would look like from a more attacking standpoint. But the reason why I mention using the slice for the approach at times, and not all the time, but at times, is because it would mean Medvedev having to take the ball, if Tsitsipas has hit the slice correctly and deep enough, at a very low down. And what that means is, if he's having to go low down, it's tougher for him to dig it out. He might get an easy overhead Tsitsipas, or if it is a passing shot, most likely it's not going to be a sublime one, kind of that he's able to tee up at, at waist height and really hit through the ball with. That's the second option. But the overarching point that I'm trying to make is that he needs to be more aggressive with the approach so that he can make the volley shouldn't be hard. The volley should be easy for the most part. It's not always going to be easy against someone who is as good as Medvedev, but if he's able to come forward, and if he's going to come forward, he needs to choose the right opportunities. And maybe if the approach isn't good enough, that's because he's not choosing the right opportunities to come forward. That could be it as well. For Medvedev, of course, he'll know Tsitsipas is going to try and drag him out. He'll know that he's going to try and get him uncomfortable in the return position. He'll know that he'll try and come forward. Medvedev will just try and be as solid as possible. He'll try and pick him off. He'll pick his spots, and he will be laser-like in his play. We know that. If he hits his spots on his serve and he serves, more than 65% of first serves, then it's going to be really tough for Tsitsipas to get a look in on the service games. And in the return games, he, again, might have some success, but Tsitsipas should be good. We could see a couple of tiebreakers. I reckon we'll see at least one. I think it's going to be 3 close sets. I'm going to go with Medvedev to win in 3 sets. I just think this matchup will get his juices flowing. I know he hasn't played the best tennis this week, but I think this rivalry will definitely kind of stoke the fire a little bit, and probably in a good way, because we want the best players playing the best. But who knows? Tsitsipas, could he get his first win on outdoor hard against him? Potentially, but remains to be seen. Right, let's talk about Norrie Coric, or Coric even. Norrie Coric. Head-to-head. So they've only played twice. The head-to-head is 1-1. Coric's run to the semi-finals. So the run to semi-finals is pretty damn impressive. Won against Musetti in straight sets, and Nadal in 3 sets. What a win that was. Played some incredible tennis. RBA as well. And then FA. I mean, talk about a comeback. I mean, he's fully fit and he's firing on all cylinders, is Coric, and it's great to see. Really, really impressive. I mean, look at this. First set points won 97% against FA. What? 97%. That is incredible. That is incredible. For Norrie, he beat Holger Rune in 3 sets. Andy Murray in 3 sets. Great win there. Murray had his chances, but not clinical. And Ben Shelton in straight sets as well. Then beat Alcaraz in an incredible match, winning 7-6, 6-7, 6-4. What a tight one that was. And I have to say, this is becoming a little bit of a rivalry. And one, I'm all for, because it's great to watch. It really is. I mean, Alcaraz had won the last 3 matches between the two. Norrie came back swinging. I mean, it's just incredible to see. So, look, Norrie's been playing some really good tennis, and he's always super consistent. That's the big thing about him. Consistent. He is Mr. Consistent. Makes a lot of balls in deep, and he forces a lot of errors. He doesn't necessarily hit a lot of winners. I mean, this kind of says it all. 25 winners to 30 unforced errors in his last match. That's because a lot of the points that he would have won would have been forced errors. So he doesn't get the winner. He doesn't get the winner. Alcaraz doesn't get the unforced error. It's just a forced error, right? And that's what's been so impressive about Cam Norrie. He's just been really, really good. He's so solid and he works with what he has, and he's just so impressive to me. He's really just squeezing every bit of talent he has, and he keeps on improving as well, which is just even more astounding. So Norrie has been one of the most consistent players on tour for quite some time now, and he is going to have to play similarly to how he has been this week against Coric, but also put in a really good returning display. So let's break it down from a tactical standpoint. Coric has been playing a little bit like, and depends on how old you are, a little bit like Robin Söderling. Now, I don't know if a lot of you remember him. The player who, of course, beat Rafa for the first time at Roland Garros. A lot of injuries, but was at one time world number 4. Made Grand Slam finals. And look, has a really good win percentage as well in his career. Coric is playing similar style to what Söderling was in his career. Massive, massive serving. I mean, he was averaging 127 miles per hour against Nadal in their match. And his first serve percentage wasn't massively high, but it didn't matter because he was going for the lines. And when he did make the first serve, he was getting 3 points. Second serve as well wasn't, it wasn't particularly slow either. And he was happy, I think, to say, you know what, I've got the trade-off of hitting massive first serves, getting 3 points on that. And the second serve, realistically, Nadal at the time was standing very far back, and I think a lot of players will do against his kick serve. And, they'll go to neutral, but then he has weapons from the back of the court. Now, his forehand can be inconsistent. His backhand's very, very good and one of the better two-handed backhands on tour, and definitely up there, to be fair, and potentially maybe even a top 10 two-handed backhand, that is. The forehand is powerful but can be inconsistent, but this week it's been pretty consistent. He's obviously hit a little bit of a purple patch, and he's fully fit, he's confident, and he's a very dangerous player to watch and to play. His net game's not bad either. He's just playing very big tennis right now, and against someone like Cam Norrie, he can go one of two ways. He can either make too many unforced errors, and Norrie will grind him out, really, and just be able to be too consistent for him, or he will hit Norrie off the court, which is done for pretty much everyone else, Felix included. The worrying thing for Norrie will be that after the Nadal win, he's not lost a single set. And the Felix win, to me, is a really impressive win. It really is. Didn't have to save a single break point against Felix as well. So he served so well. I mean, 64% of first serves in, 97% of first serve points won, 50% of second serve points won. 20 winners to 40 unforced errors, 71% of net points won. I mean, we're talking about ridiculous stats here. So all I'm going to say is it's looking pretty good. 8 aces, 1 double fault. I mean, there's not a lot wrong there, right? And he's going into, excuse me, the Norrie semi-final off the back of that result. I mean, he's going to have a huge amount of confidence. For Norrie, of course, a really, really positive result against Alcaraz. That's a massive win as well. So both these players going into it with a lot of confidence. For Norrie, though, I'm not quite sure how he's going to return against Coric because it's such a big serve. He's going to have to accept at times that he's serving too well, but he's going to have to try and make as many returns as possible. And he's going to have to try and elongate the points as long as possible because the longer the point goes on, the more chance he'll have of winning it. That is a very cliche thing to say, but it's true. But not just that. I have to caveat it with the point that he needs to elongate the points, but also can't afford to just let Coric always be on the front foot and dictating because inevitably then he'll lose the point. You can't win a point just hitting a lot of short balls back into play. Yes, getting your opponent to play an extra ball can work at times, and it means that you can get some and induce some unforced errors from them. But Norrie needs to be playing consistently good tennis. I would suggest that when he goes flat on the backhand side into the forehand of Coric, he might get some success there. And the forehand to the backhand of Coric, he should look at what Nadal did and say, okay, well, Nadal tried to go kind of loopy forehand, high topspin into the Coric backhand. Coric doesn't mind taking it shoulder height. If he's going to do that, he needs to utilize angles. Probably needs to flatten out the forehand, a little bit as well, cross court. Can't afford to let Coric just step in and take it on the rise, because similar to someone like a Djokovic, who else? Similar to like a Tsitsipas, a Musetti, a Kachanov, all these guys like taking the ball high on the backhand side. They can drive through it. He's similar, and Norrie needs to then factor that in. He also needs to serve really well, I would say, and potentially mix it up, because we know how good the backhand is. So why not mix it up? Go into the body as well of Coric and be a little bit dynamic on that. Make him second guess and make sure that he's not getting comfortable in return. So we'll see. It's going to be a cracking semi-final. I'm going to go with Coric actually to win in straight sets. If he plays like he did against Felix, I just don't see how he loses, honestly. And I'm hoping this is going to be the start of his resurgence after a long layoff, or long layoffs really, because of injury, COVID, etc., and hopefully a rekindling. And maybe we can see him back to near the top of the game, where he was highest of 12 in the world at one point. So let's see. That's my predictions. Let me know your thoughts. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.